Welcome to the Lotco Business Podcast, a show all about helping you as a retailer, brand or creative understand the actual business side of running your business. I offer straightforward practical advice about the nitty-gritty of making money from your creative passion. We will be covering bite-sized business and marketing lessons as well as interviews with experts and trailblazers in the fashion, homewares and design industries. My name is Melissa Robbins. I'm a business coach, colour-loving, non-coffee drinking Melburnian. Let's get into it. Jess from Collabosaurus is my special guest today and is going to share why collabs are one of the best marketing tools you can use in your business. Collabosaurus helps to connect brands with clever collaborations and partnerships. Now, I have wanted you on the show for a long time, Jess, and I'm just heard that I'm very lucky to scrape in because I know you're very popular. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks. Never been so popular in my life. This is like that's what dreams are made of from high school days.
Oh, everyone wants a piece of hearing all about Collabosaurus and how it can help them, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's my favorite topic to talk about. So I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
It's such I think I just said to you when I was, asking in the email, it's such a perfect fit for my audience because I work with so many different product-based businesses and, really working on how they can be seen, how they can get their brand out there, how they can get more people to know about them. So, yeah, perfect fit. Can you just tell me a little bit about what Collabosaurus is for those who don't know?
Sure. It's just like a Tinder for brands. It's a really good way to explain it.
Yeah.
So it's just like a dating site for businesses. We matchmake brands together for clever marketing collabs and strategic partnerships. So that can look like anything from gift with purchase collabs to content series collabs to limited edition product collabs, bundled collabs, competitions and giveaways, events and experiences, pop-ups. Basically, teaming up with another business allows you to effectively double your promotional reach organically across multiple channels, make incredible strategic connections and really drive growth. So Collabosaurus is that matchmaker. So we make really fantastic connections happen.
And I think I love that because obviously a lot of people just would think, oh, well, it's only when you do this huge, big design collaboration, like all those other things you mentioned. They can be, smaller things. They don't have to be this huge year-long event of planning a, elaborate design together.
Yeah, I mean, a limited edition product collab, I think they're everywhere now. If you start looking around, you'll realize how many limited edition product collabs are released all the time. And, if you're ever stuck, I recommend checking out Gelato Messina because I feel like they do about 10 collabs a month or something ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. They've just done another one with Lano Lips to release like lip balm flavors. They did one last year and they've done one again this year. But they've really leveraged it and made it available in store and done all that kind of stuff, which is really cool. But I think a lot of small businesses look around in the market and think that a brand collab is this one-off, big, once-in-a-lifetime, year-long process of getting together a limited edition product, which or on the flip side, small businesses think that collabs are just competitions and giveaways on social media, which is super saturated at the moment.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it's not one or the other. There's actually heaps that goes on in between that are smaller scale collabs that can be incredibly effective to drive marketing growth, like gift with purchase collabs or like bundled products or services, or you could even do like limited edition packaging rather than a limited edition product, for example, which is a really great way to really halve the manufacturing and design time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it. Like, many different ways can you have a collab? And as you talked about before, all the different ones, how many people should people be trying to do a year? Like, what is the sort of a good number? I mean, I guess, I'm sort of babbling here, just talking about like, I want everyone to do one. I wanted everyone to do at least one, but we want them to be doing more than that, don't we?
Yes, definitely. So I love this question because the answer is actually not from my own data. It's from American Express. So American Express ran a research study into the value of brand collaborations for Australian businesses. And they found that if you're collaborating 5.5 times each year or more, that leads to a 17% revenue growth,
Right. Okay.
which is absolutely insane. Like, I mean, you should be collaborating once every 2 months on something,
Yeah.
and that'll drive revenue growth of over 17%, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, that collaboration should just be, as you know, I talk about social media shouldn't just be the only egg, in your basket type of thing, or shouldn't have all your eggs in that one basket. But collabs, the same thing. Like, you shouldn't just do one, you should be doing multiple. And how can they play out over either a space of time, and how can they be different throughout the year as well, I guess, as you say.
And
And
I think as well with brand collabs, I think the word collaboration gets thrown around a lot in lots of different contexts, and
yeah,
a lot of people think of influencer collabs,
yeah, okay.
which is one thing. And I think if you're teaming up with an influencer, usually that's kind of more like an advertising model. You're paying for placement and you're paying for content creation, typically tied to one platform though, like Instagram or TikTok or wherever the influencer has built their influence,
Yeah.
which is great. And that's an awesome strategy, but it's only one strategy. If you look at something like a brand collaboration, teaming up with a complementary business means you're not just accessing one channel. There's so many more platforms and more assets to leverage in a brand collaboration, because every business has a website, more than one social media channel, and email marketing lists, skill sets, products, services, often venue spaces and things you can tap into. So you can really get more bang for your buck, I suppose, with a brand collaboration, because it's multi-channel, it's longer term. You can really leverage a lot of things as part of a campaign that's a brand-to-brand collaboration. And 90% of the collabs that happen on Collabosaurus actually don't involve cash exchange whatsoever, which is another huge difference between brand collaborations and influencer collabs.
Yeah.
There's gray area there, but brand-to-brand collaborations often are leveraging currencies other than cash and what you already have available to you in your business to achieve really epic results. So, I mean, in my opinion, they're just the most valuable thing that I could talk about them all day.
And I think that's it. Like, what you do. So let's just touch on Collabosaurus in itself. Like, we'll go back to all the good reasons for them, but one of the barriers people obviously have is that they're like, well, how do I even get started? How do I even find someone to collaborate with? Okay, yes, you've convinced me I want to do it. What do I do now? And I guess obviously that's where Collabosaurus comes in. So tell us how that works.
Yeah, well, before telling you how it works, I'll tell you where the idea came from.
Okay,
I think that'll make a lot of sense.
That where did it first come? Where did you first start that? Yeah.
Well, I just think it makes so much more sense when you realize what's involved in a traditional brand collaboration process, and sort of where this idea came from. So I was working in PR, so fashion PR, and we were pulling together media launch events every single quarter for our fashion clients. And I was tasked with, as a junior, to come up with venue partners, goodie bag inclusion partners, beauty brand partners to make the experience amazing. And it was just such a scramble, and everyone wanted free stuff. That's what I hated about collabs back then, is everyone was like, where can we get free coconut water for our event? And it was about the free, and it wasn't about the strategic partnership, that there's actually heaps of value there and heaps that can be tapped into. But the whole premise behind collabs, and I think understanding of collabs in the Australian market back then, it's like a long time ago now, was very much around free. And thankfully that is changing. But I remember going to these fashion launch events and going, oh my gosh, the people in the room are like people of influence. They are journalists, they were like emerging bloggers, they were designers who were supporting their friends' collections. They were all just people of influence in one room. And I just thought, wow, like for a small business to get in front of this audience in a meaningful way would have just been absolutely game-changing for them. But there was no way for small businesses especially to access these events, because publicists would typically talk to their other publicist friends. So it was like, what clients do you have that can give us free stuff? And it was just badly handled.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I moved to a marketing education company where we would take businesses through a 12-month course as to how to DIY your own marketing. Partnerships were a huge part of that, but so many small businesses just didn't get started because they didn't know where to start, or they were sending pitch emails out that were terrible and not getting responses, or they'd been taken advantage of in the past by a large corporate. That was unfortunately a really common theme.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my gosh, like my friend next to me in the office was on Tinder, and I grabbed his phone and I was like, let me do some swiping for you because that's the funnest thing ever. And then I was like, wow, this is great. And around that time, I was looking for event partners, and I just thought, this would be so fantastic if there was a tool you could use like this, but for brands that you know who's interested, you know what they're looking for, you know what they can offer, you're connected with the decision maker, and it takes 2 seconds to connect with someone rather than going through the traditional process of what can take like hours and hours and hours, and a lot of expertise. Because if you do something manually, which, if you're getting like just starting out in business, definitely do it manually because, you want to save all your pennies.
Yeah.
But if you are doing it that way, you need to come up with a creative idea before you pitch. You need to come up with a list of brands that you can reach out to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Find the decision maker at each of those brands, understand your value to them, do the perfectly, curated pitch email and the follow-ups before you even know if anyone's interested. Whereas Collabosaurus flips the script a little bit so that you don't need a big creative idea. You can create an account in 5 minutes and you get match made up against complementary brands who are already interested and is already the decision maker. You know what they're offering, what they're looking for before you even connect.
Yeah.
And on a paid subscription, you get access to a dedicated support person who can help you with the creative idea, who can help you with the contracts, help you with the follow-up if need be, that basically you're not left alone wondering what's gone wrong.
You're just removing all those barriers for why you can't do one, essentially. So you're sort of like, well, here's the way to go about it. Here's other ones that have been successful. Here's the people who are already keen and willing to be here. So you're removing all the barriers for someone to say, oh, it's too hard for me to do it.
And I think sometimes like some of the coolest collabs I've seen happen on the platform, they wouldn't be ones that you'd necessarily expect. They're really quirky.
I love that.
And
Tell me, what are some? Have you got any examples?
I do. I have one that's like one of my favorites. But I think also, if you sit down and come up with a list of complementary brands, that's all well and good. But sometimes there are opportunities out there that you just go, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of that. But that is like super awesome. So the example that's springing to mind at the moment is Adult Toy Megastore, or ATMS, with Donut Pappy. So sexual wellness brand, very hard to market because Facebook advertising bans a lot of their ads. And so they're really looking for creative ways to team up. So they were match made on Collabosaurus with a donut company in Sydney called Donut Pappy. It's a small business. And for Singles Day, which is like International Singles Day this year, they teamed up and they did I actually can't remember what they called the donut, but it was a donut that had a little mini vibrator on top of the donut as part of this limited edition gift with purchase Singles Day thing. And it was so quirky, but there was a line around the block. It got major media attention as well as selling out in the first 2 hours of the day. Everyone was so excited and stoked by this really cute, fun play on Singles Day collab. And that was just so, so clever. But they wouldn't have thought, I don't think, to do that kind of collab had a match not come up, recognizing that Donut Pappy and ATMS's audience demographic was super aligned, similar interests, similar age demographics, all of that kind of stuff, similar location. So why not tap into that and do something really creative that adds value and builds buzz?
Yeah, I love that. And as you say, it's not just the collab you're doing, but it's tapping into what else comes from it too, and who else is talking about it, and all the different, as you said earlier, collateral that can come from that one event, like imagery, content. There's just so much that can come from that one. It's not actually just about the product at all.
Totally. And they didn't spend, months pulling together this design or anything like that. ATMS sent a bunch of mini vibrators along. They were like, whack these on top of the donut. So it's like easy as really, you know, and like one of the most cost effective marketing strategies you can use.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is so good. And so just going back, I didn't actually realize that, yeah, you actually specifically are a brand Tinder, because you obviously, that was your first inspo, which is hilarious. Uh, and so with brands, you know, what do they need to know before they even get started on Collabosaurus? So they should just sort of check out what other people are doing. Like, what do they do?
Definitely. My biggest recommendation is to create an account. It's free and takes about 5 minutes, but it gives you a preview of the brands matched up against your business.
Yeah.
So that really gives you a great teaser and like idea as to how Collabosaurus could potentially help you. So that's always my recommendation. The other thing you can do for free if you want to dip your toe in is if you go onto collabosaurus.com's homepage and just scroll down a little bit, there's a section that says featured opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
And there's about 10 brands in there that are featured. They update every fortnight, so there's a fresh 10. And if any of those opportunities look interesting, you can click through and submit interest to the decision maker directly for free up to 3 times before you'll be required to create a subscription account. But those two things are golden, like for small businesses, especially to get started with, because it'll give you ideas that you otherwise haven't thought of. It gives you a preview as to the types of brand collabs you could, you know, have a look at, and you could make some connections totally free before, you know, committing to anything.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Hello, lovely. If you're looking for a way to grow your product business without relying on Facebook ads or posting daily on social media, then I invite you to register for my free masterclass. This is happening very, very soon, and inside of this masterclass, I'm sharing the strategy behind building a profitable product-based business so you can attract consistent customers and scale to 6 figures and beyond. I also emphasize how to create a sustainable long-term business, which is such an important factor for me. I'm so excited to be teaching this masterclass soon, so make sure you go and register for your free spot by heading to the link in the show notes below. When people go into, and I think I've seen this on your reels and things like this too, but when people go into a collaboration, what are some of the things that they may think it is all about at the start, and then maybe, you know, tell us about what other things can come from a collab too? I mean, we've touched on obviously little bits here, but what are some of the things that people immediately think, oh, well, I need to have lots of money to do it? Maybe is that one of the things?
Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely not. You don't need any budget whatsoever.
Okay.
I think as well, a common misconception is that we're an influencer platform, which we're not. We do exclusively brand-to-brand partnerships. If you want to do influencer strategies, that's great, but like Collabosaurus isn't the platform for that. The other thing as well that I hear a lot is that because we work with huge brands, you know, we've got about 9,000 brands on the platform now, big and small, but there's brands in there like, you know, Vodafone, Estee Lauder, Marks and Spencer, which is really exciting, and you can definitely tap into brand collabs like that even as a small business. But I think a lot of people think, oh, am I too small to start? And that's not the case at all. I started collaborating for Collabosaurus for my business before I even had a website, you know. So it's kind of like it's never too early to start. Those relationships are game changing. So I think, Collabosaurus, you can be, as long as you have, you know, I think as long as you've started your business, it's a good time to get started with a platform like Collabosaurus for sure. I think also that social media competition and giveaway thing is like people fixate on that as the only way to collaborate. But yeah, as I said, there's just so many different ways to collab and things to explore. As for outcomes you could achieve from brand collabs, I think another misconception is that brand collabs don't lead to sales. You know, it's like this fluffy, nice to have thing that it goes to the bottom of your to-do list because it's like, it requires some work and some time. And so you just go, no, you know. But I would argue brand collabs lead to more sales than an organic strategy, you know, that it's just like just posting on Instagram, just posting and doing stuff like that, and email marketing. That's great and necessary as part of your marketing plan. But a brand collab gets you in front of a whole new audience of people that you otherwise haven't hit up. And so it builds brand awareness. But by teaming up with another brand that already has, a strong relationship with their community, you by default have a sense of trust assigned to you. So it's way more powerful and effective than a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or whatever, because someone, exactly, if a brand that you love is talking about, hey, we've teamed up with so-and-so brand that you've never heard of, immediately you're like, oh, that's interesting. I want to check that out, Yeah. So I think outcome wise, there's some things that are really hard to put a dollar value on. There's things like that trust aspect. There's also that byproduct of brand collabs is growing your network, which is so hard to put a dollar value on, but so, so important in business. You inevitably, build really strong networks with complementary brands and people in the same boat as you. Some of my favorite friends in business started out as brand collaborators, and we've collaborated again and again and, built strong friendships off the back of that. So that's really great too. But you can use brand collabs to drive sales directly. A gift with purchase collabs drives a sale immediately because it's adding value and urgency, around a purchasing decision. Then you've got things like limited edition products or bundled products or services. Again, they directly lead to sales because it's not only building your reach and hype, but also there's urgency around that purchase, which I think is one of the hardest nuts to crack for small business owners, especially product businesses. It's kind of like, what's going to make people on the fence pull the trigger on a purchase.
Convert them, get them over the line. Yeah.
Exactly. Or increase their order value or their cart value.
Huge one. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can collaborate to create a bundle, for example, at a higher price point that has more things as part of it. That directly leads to a sale. So my point with that is that, brand collabs directly lead to sales. And I mean, just like that Amex report stated, if you're collaborating 6 times a year, that's a 17% revenue increase on average for Australian companies. So it's like,
it's huge.
You can make brand collabs work to drive sales for you. Absolutely. I just think it just depends on the type of brand collab you explore. If you're doing competitions and giveaways every month, that's not really going to lead to sales for you, but that's just because of the type of collab, not because of collabs themselves.
And then even then as well, like whenever you do something, really making the most of it and not just, sharing it once by email or posting it on Instagram twice. It's really building up the anticipation of it, the whole, what's coming and really using each other's audiences, if there's the two brands, obviously, to build up that, okay, this is an exciting thing that's going on. So not just... so the way you go about your collab is so important as well, not just the
totally
what you're actually doing.
Yes, and that's exactly one of the main differences I think with an influencer campaign. It's not just one post or 2 posts or something like that. Usually brand to brand collaborations are campaign led. So they tackle over a longer period of time multiple channels. So usually what I recommend is like 4 to 6 weeks is a really ideal campaign timeline. And what you said about teasing that out and building excitement and doing sneak peeks ahead of the launch and really getting people invested, going, what is this thing that's coming, is just such an effective way to engage your community and build hype ahead of a launch, so that when you do launch it, you're promoting it across both brands, available channels, multiple times over like a 2, 3, 4 week period, and really making the most of those collabs. I actually love Yours Only and Zove Beauty did a collab through Collabosaurus where Zove Beauty do those beautiful jade rollers and gua shas, and Yours Only is a skincare company for dramatic skin, they say, so sensitive skins and reactive skin. And they teamed up and did a box with a limited edition colorway of the jade roller. So they had this white jade roller with the 2 best sellers of the Yours Only product. But they just leveraged it so well. They did it from January to March was the promotional period. They went really hard on it, and they did, it was the whole homepage of Yours Only's website was this reveal of this collab. They did a tease period. They even engaged influencers as part of the campaign to share how to use the jade roller. They did Instagram lives together. It was just super content heavy and super promoted. And 2 small businesses were able to reach over 30,000 people through that campaign with no additional spend, just by teaming up and doing something cool together. So, yeah.
Love that. And then even just talking about that, like, encouraging email subscribers to get on or join in that sort of asset as well means that you can grow longer term as well, because you're capturing more people into your audience and database as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a really great way to tease out a collab is like, if you're on the email list, you get first access, so you can really drive email list subscribers that way too.
Yeah, I love that. And so I just noticed, well, I don't know how long ago this was now, but you've been overseas, and I saw you just sort of, and they might have been those limited edition ones that you talked about, but you saw, obviously you would see collabs everywhere because it's just part of, would something would a light go off in your brain and be like, there's one, but you see them everywhere now, right? It's
I'm like haunted by collabs. Yeah. Yeah, I love them. I was recently in Paris, and it was just ahead of Fashion Week. So it wasn't Fashion Week yet, but the amount of collabs I spotted just around the streets and in the retail sector was just incredible and so encouraging to see, because I think Australia can sometimes be a little bit slow to the party with things. But I actually think when it comes to collaboration, we're up there playing with the big boys a lot more than some other strategies, I think. So, but in Paris, it was just fantastic to see. I think the main thing that stood out for me in Paris was that it was just well leveraged. So it wasn't just let's do this limited edition product collab and release it on the website and do a post about it. They would take over the whole store. So the one I'm thinking of is Veja and Bash Paris, which is the sneaker company and the fashion company. They teamed up on a limited edition range of sneakers, Veja sneakers. And so they took over all the Bash Paris stores in Paris and did, like, in the windows with this huge, like, Veja X Bash Paris, and it was like all the colors from the campaign, and it really piqued intrigue and interest, and you wanted to go in and see what they were doing. So they used that collab not only to drive sales and awareness and content and social reach, but also foot traffic was a major outcome that they were able to achieve in retail stores because of the collab. So yeah, I just loved everything was leveraged and well thought out and campaign led.
I love that. When someone's going to go into a collab, what should their expectations be? So, I mean, I guess that's a really tricky question, I know, to answer, but if a brand's going to, put their name up on Collabosaurus, they're going to try and find a match for what they've got. Should they be open to all different things, essentially? Like, what should they be expecting?
Ooh, that would depend on the brand, but I would say the best results typically come from being open to a ton of different opportunities to see what comes back. Okay. And you can always, filter down once you've done collabs again and again and realized what types work for you, what industry spaces work really well, as complementary cross-promotional type things. Then you can refine down. But I usually recommend, start broad, make some cool connections in different industry spaces, and make use of, our support. We have collaboration experts on the team who all day, every day, our favorite thing to do is to come up with cool creative ideas for like a food brand and a fashion brand. Yeah, exactly. Make the connections and then let us know if you need help coming up with a creative concept that hits your marketing goals. But the other thing in terms of what to expect, I would definitely recommend going into brand collabs as a strategy with a long-term view. Don't go into it going, I'm going to try it for 1 month. And then, you know what I mean? Like if you want to do brand collabs, gosh, they can be successful and so impactful to your bottom line. But I think really they're only impactful to your bottom line if you're doing them regularly throughout the year. So that's what I would recommend.
And even as you say, trying a few of the different types.
For sure. Yes. Not every collab is going to perform the same. Absolutely. And what was the other thing? Oh, yes, have a marketing goal in mind. That's like my biggest tip. You don't want to collab for collab's sake. You want to collab just like you would approach any other marketing strategy. You want to achieve something out of it, whether it's email list subscriber growth, whether it's Instagram community growth, whether it's online traffic increases, foot traffic increases, or just direct sales, maybe that's it. Or brand awareness or media hype, whatever it is that you want to achieve, know that going in, because your whole collab should be dictated by that one outcome that you want to track against and that you want to achieve. Because if you really want to grow your email list, but then you consistently do competitions and giveaways on social media where it's just tagging a friend to enter, that's not growing your email list, So, So I have a goal in mind.
And I think, as you mentioned, like having data. So if you've got a particular goal in mind, looking at the data beforehand, looking at what's going on prior, and then tracking that particular result. Because as you say, if someone doesn't have that specific goal, they might just be like, oh, well, I wanted to increase sales, but didn't actually change the sales that much. Or, so really making sure that they know their data prior and they know what they're actually going to be looking at and tracking. And not everything is going to give you exact information, because it may be that brand awareness that you didn't even realize, but then people might talk about it later, or you might find out about you 3 months later because the person's still talking about it on their website or on their social or whatever it might be.
Well, I mean, we connected because I collabed with Jumbled. Yeah. And then it was we did the huddle, and then it was I don't know, I've somehow remained on your mind, which is amazing.
You have. I was actually had you on my list of guests back in before the huddle, and then it just got all a bit crazy. And I was like, I still need to reach out to Jess as one of my things. I really want to talk about collabs, and I think because I've been working with so many clients lately, going, have you got this as one of your strategies? Collabs is one of the strategies that I think you should be playing out with. And I'm like, I really need to talk to Jess, because you're the perfect person to bring these people together. Because as you say, it's like they think that there's these big barriers, they think that it's going to be hard, or they think that it's going to be this huge investment money wise. And so, just knowing that that's not the case is really important.
Absolutely. And I'm biased, so totally do your own research. But on average, Collabosaurus saves about 30 hours per collab, because we're cutting out all of that time. So I often recommend, if you're looking at cost of collabs, don't forget to cost out your time. If you're spending, $50 an hour worth of your time, 30 times over for every collab that you do manually, gosh, that's a huge cost to your business. Collabosaurus, the business plan that comes with the advertising credits, the account management, the unlimited connections, unlimited company name view, all that kind of stuff, that's $2,000 for the entire year. That's the whole year gets you that, which is less than 10% of the cost of an agency. So I think, weigh up your costs. But in terms of the brand collab itself, it shouldn't cost you anything. You're leveraging currencies other than cash. So, and you're often sitting on a gold mine of value. I say this to small businesses all the time. I think it's common that small businesses will get quite insecure about I'm not big enough, or my Instagram following's not big enough. And that's just crap.
And they may have an amazing product.
I know.
Other brands that that my audience would love that connection, whatever it might be. So you just don't know.
Absolutely. And you don't have to collaborate with the Pinterests of the world every single time you collaborate. You can team up with another brand that has a similar sized community to you. And often what you might find is that's probably going to be more engaged than one of those, big companies. So I think that's a good point. That's a very good point to make. But I really, right now, looking at the marketing landscape, businesses are cash strapped off the back of COVID. Advertising costs are rising. Organic reach is declining. It's there's never been a more necessary time to integrate brand collabs into your strategy consistently, because they're one of the most cost-effective ways to increase revenue, by 17% or more if you're doing collabs regularly throughout the year.
I love that. I love the stats as well that you I love a bit of numbers. I guess the thing is, get started. Started.
You've got nothing to lose.
Just start somewhere. And as you say, your initial platform, you can get started for free. Like doesn't have to be the subscription, which
For
obviously
sure.
is a part of your long-term strategy. That would be the way to go. But, there are things that you can get started. There's places you can reach out to people. I think it's an exciting opportunity for people to get together with someone else and see what it could do for their business.
Oh, yes, you never know. And yeah, you totally have nothing to lose. I think it's so worth dipping your toe in. Try a couple of different types and track the results to see how you go. But yeah, I highly recommend. The impact of doing it regularly throughout the year is insane. So good for small businesses, and small businesses are more agile than big businesses. So it's actually a huge opportunity right now with the market doing what it's doing. It's like you actually have such an advantage being smaller because you can move quickly on things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's right. And often you're making the decisions as well yourself. So we're at as you said, that, when you were originally reaching out to people before Collabosaurus existed, like, who do you actually speak to? So
Oh my
having
gosh, I know.
is a
And then
huge
are they
factor.
even interested? And then you have to be super good at being able to communicate the value you could offer them and communicate the idea. It's basically, I use the dating analogy all the time. It's like the pitch email is all about getting the first date. It's not about securing the marriage, but it's really hard to do. It's a hard balance to strike if you're reaching out cold to someone. You want to get them interested enough to have the first date, but then you also don't want to just be like giving all of the value and not getting anything in return.
Yeah, as in it's not an equal collaboration type of thing either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so amazing. And I just wanted to ask, is it for brands only or service-based? Do you have a mixture of things on your website as well?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely for products and service businesses. I mean, we're a service business and we've collaborated a million times over in B2B. So we've teamed up with Microsoft in the past, Oded & Co., who's a publicity expert and created content and downloadables and workshops and events and competitions and giveaways and content series. We've done collabs again and again as a service-based business. But service or product, it's totally open to both. And we have a really good mix of both. I would say it's slightly heavier on the product business side. I think that's just because from a brand collaborations around us perspective, there's so many product brands that you see physically, like in store and on social and stuff like that. But it can work for both.
Yeah, amazing. And so everyone should look at their next year's planning, whether it's, wherever we get this out, but it's like 12 months of planning. How many different things could you do? What different types could you do? Have a little get started, go on to Collabosaurus, and I'll obviously link everything in the show notes too.
I actually have as well. If anyone wants to DM me, I've got an idea generator tool that I whipped up one weekend. You can select your industry space and your marketing goal, and it'll generate collaboration marketing ideas you can explore throughout the year. So that's free as well. If you want to hit me up, I can send that to you.
Amazing.
And that might be helpful too.
I'll link that in the show notes and stuff as well. Anything else that people should know about collaborations? I mean, I think we've touched on, how valuable they can be. You should be doing a number of them. They don't have to be all big, huge ones. I think, what else? What else is there, Jess? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, we don't have time to go through all of the things.
Get started.
Look at your marketing goal. What's your biggest marketing goal? And maybe head to Collabosaurus and create a free account to preview your matches with that marketing goal, so it can return a bunch of ideas and brands that you could team up with, and get the juices flowing.
Yep. Okay. Amazing. All right. I'll look forward to hearing what people do after listening to this and what collaborations come out of it. And I hope they tag us both when they have that connection. That's
please do. That would make my day. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time and being able to come on and share why collabs are the thing that you should be making in your marketing for the next year ahead.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you so much for listening to the Lotco Business Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to receive future episodes as they are released. And I'd be so grateful for a review on Apple Podcast. If you would like a copy of the show notes or any of the links mentioned today, please jump onto my website at thelotco.com.au/podcast. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon.